Well, hello there, everybody. Shell Brodnax with Real Estate Staging Association. Go ahead and help us check all the technology. Type in that chat box that yes, you see us, and yes, you can hear us. And that would be great. And yes, you can see us. Great. So everybody that's jumping on, we want to make sure that everybody gets on before we start and get to the good stuff. So just give you a little bit of an overview of how this goes. We did take questions ahead of time. And we put them into this little PowerPoint. So the question's just going to pop up. Christine and I are going to chit chat about it. Don't be surprised if we have different opinions on things. That is okay. That's why the world turns, is because different things apply to different people, different personalities. So take what you want, discard the rest. It is okay. Note also that when you ask a question, we might pose a question back to you in such a way to kind of make you think, because sometimes people ask questions that are not really seeing the big picture. So we want to kind of jog you into reality to get you to see a bigger picture. But before I start, I want to introduce this lovely lady, Christine Rae. She's with CSP International Staging Business Training Academy. I have known Christine now for 19 years this month. Yes. And I'm so excited that you're here doing this with us and for us and for the industry. And
by the way, this arrived today. Thank you very much.
Oh, did it?
Yes. Thank you.
I sent out some thank you cards. Thank you for friendship and thank you for support. Because like I said, February 2002 is when we met. So it's been a long time. And we've definitely gone different paths, but remained to be able to support each other in the industry and support everybody's efforts. So thank you.
God, 20 years just like that.
It's a long time. I'm telling you. Well, are you ready to hit it? We're going to get started, give some good old-fashioned education. And at the very end, because this might go quickly, we might take a little bit longer on certain questions. Ask questions in the chat box. Feel free to do that. We can interact with you as well. At the end, well, we're just going to freestyle. So at that point, you'll just throw all your questions in the chat box if we haven't covered them, and we will take them one at a time. So here we go. What's the benefit of having your own furniture versus staging or renting? Christine, you want to take that one?
Your own benefit. I think, especially if you're a newbie, well, there's different ways to look at it, I suppose. You have to look at, if you're a newbie, is there a supplier in your area? If there's a supplier where you can get furniture, then use it until you get your business established and you want to see whether or not you want to have a warehouse, because that warehouse is a whole different business than just showcasing properties. So having your own, obviously you can respond more quickly. You've got an income stream, but it's going to have its expenses. You know, you have to have machinery, you have to have racking, you have to have people, trucks. It's a whole different game. So I would say if you can rent it, rent it. I know a lot of the senior people who started out with a warehouse eventually ditched their warehouse and just went to rental. But you know, it's a personal thing. It's how you want to run your business. But if you're new, I would say rent to keep your costs down, at least for the first year till you see the lie of the land.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Get your feet wet first before you invest in everything. Of course, you want to buy your own accessories and things of that nature.
Oh, sure.
But the, like Christine said, man, if you start buying your own inventory, you're going to want to do wholesale, which we'll talk about in another slide. But the warehouse, like you said, it's a whole nother business model. And so you might get into staging and you might say, you know what, this is what I'm into. I just want to go big. And that's the way to go. That's going to be the most profitable for you if that's your business model, because instead of your clients paying a monthly rental fee to a rental company, they're going to pay it to you. So you have that additional income, but of course you have all the additional expenses.
The other issue is, you know, how many houses of furniture can you purchase? Yeah. Even buying wholesale. You know, I had somebody the last time we were on said, you know, I have 4 houses of furniture. How can I market myself? And I'm like, you have one agent who has 4 listings. You have no furniture left.
You're wiped out.
You're wiped out. Now what? You know, it's like, you've got to really think this through if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Could not agree more.
Hey, we are agreeing. Woohoo! Next.
Okay. What kind of insurance do you need to protect yourself and your business? Okay, I'm going to run this down for you because this is one of my favorite subjects. First of all, if you're in a staging business, you have to have insurance. So you have to have general liability insurance. So we work with, at RESA, we work with two different insurance providers, Villanova Insurance, if you're in the United States, and Jones Delorier in Canada. General liability, always number one. Number two, even if you have general liability insurance, I want you to think about this. People say, you know, what happens if you stage a home and your inventory's in there and there's a fire, there's a flood, there's a theft? Who's responsible for that? And a new stager will say, oh, I've got insurance, we'll cover that. I've got general liability, it'll cover my inventory. Then my question to you is, why? Why would you want to take the hit on your insurance policy when that inventory is out of your care, custody, and control? You have no control over it. It's no different than when you go to Alamo Rent-A-Car and you rent a car, same type of concept. So with that, always in your contracts, you should have that the homeowner is responsible for any damages, replacement value. If the homeowner balks at that part of your contract, you can say, no worries, have me added on as on your rider for your insurance. And if they can do it, it'll be written up and they're going to give you an insurance rider with your company name on it. You're going to tell them approximately how much furniture is in the home, and they can do that. But here's the caveat to that most people don't realize is that your homeowner's insurance is likely not to cover you if the house has been vacant for 30 days or more. Some policies start at 60 days. I think most are at 30. Mine was at 30 when I had my house staged professionally, moved out of state, and just before the 30 days, we had a flood. And there was $18,000 worth of furniture in that particular property, and I'm in another state, and it all breaks loose. So there was a policy called Staging Risk Management. So it's the logo in the bottom left part of the screen. And this is a program that I'm so proud of. It just makes so much sense. For $180 to $300, you can get a policy that ranges from $10,000 to $30,000 that's going to protect your inventory while it's in that particular property. So if the homeowner's insurance won't put you on the rider, then this is another avenue to be able to have. And you can write it into your contract. There's actually clauses that you can add. SRM has all that information, and write that into your contract, and they accept it or they deny it. And then you as a stager go in the night before you stage, clickety clack clack on the computer, purchase the policy, your client's billed for it, and you're covered. So if anything happens, they're going to cover that. It'll also cover the rental furniture if you rent from somebody like Court Furniture Rental. So even though you don't own it, Court Furniture always has what they call a damage waiver, but that's not a replacement. So if it's stolen or it's a major flood or a fire, it's not likely Court's going to cover that. Damage waiver means a little bitty scuff here or there, or a little rip in a chair or something along those particular lines. And the last one is RESA Shore. This is also a program within Villanova that was written, and this is basically a risk assessment. So we work with the attorney over there at Villanova. If you sign up with them and you get the insurance, they will help you with a contract. They'll review a contract and they'll assess all of your risk and make sure that you're properly insured. So Jones Delorier, that's in Canada. RESA has negotiated deals with them. But if you are a CSP, I believe Christine has a nice sweet deal with them as well. So if you're a CSP, check the CSP Resource Center on that. Anything to add to insurance, Christine?
Yes, two things. One is that with insurance, somebody was asking about if they don't have any inventory, should they have general insurance? Yes. Yep. But there's also professional liability insurance, like errors and omissions, that they should have.
Yeah, you can also get errors and omissions. Villanova is familiar with that. And your general liability, you still want that. Even if you don't have inventory, this isn't about protecting your inventory, although most of the general liabilities will cover you. But some have limits. It's got to be in your warehouse, or it's got to be in transit, and anything else that doesn't cover. So there's lots of different caveats to the insurance, but the general liability is going to cover you is if you go in to stage a property and you put a grand piano through the bay window, you're going to have to pay for that. And that's where your general liability insurance is going to come into play. If you come into the house and you move something else and you just absolutely rip the carpeting or rip the hardwood, that's where your general liability is also going to come into play as well.
And what your professional liability is, what if you put a rug on top of a rug and somebody trips over it and breaks their neck or breaks their leg and they sue you?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
You know, you didn't wrap up the wire on the lamp, and somebody trips over that. You know, there's so many things that can happen.
Yep.
You have
So
to protect yourself for it.
now this goes into workman's comp. So here's another one asking, does general liability cover us if we have movers or others help out with the home and get hurt? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And let's talk about suing people, because people love to sue, 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 sue. Here's the lowdown on workman's comp and movers or anybody else's that you hire for your business. So if you're hiring a mover and, you know, this is a friend of a friend or whatever, and they're hiring you and you're 1099ing them because it's kind of under the table deal, it's not the best way to go about doing it. Number one, there's none of your insurance is going to cover that particular person. Number one, they'd have to have their own professional policy. Number two, if you let them in somebody's house and they trip and they fall, and that's the relationship you have with them, what do you think they're going to do? They might be your friend, they might be a relative, but a $30,000 bill for a broken leg is a $30,000 bill. So what are they going to do? They're going to litigate it and they're going to sue everybody involved. And you, the homeowner and the real estate agent, are now going to have to defend the claim. And it'll be a fight to see whose responsibility is. Ultimately, you brought them into the house. The other thing that you need to look out for is some of these moving companies, and I'm just going to use random names: 2 men in a truck, 2 college, 2 kids in a truck, hunks in a trunk, whatever. I said trunk. We don't put the hunks in a trunk, in the truck. They are also, movers are, they can be exempt from workman's comp. So if you're working with one of those companies and you say, hey, can you provide me a copy of your workers' comp certificate? So I need to make sure that your people are properly insured. And they come back and say, oh, I'm an owner operator, I don't have to have it. You're right, they don't have to have it. However, if they get hurt, it's not likely that their health insurance policy is what you call a 24/7, 365 policy that'll cover you no matter what. Because if you've ever gone to an emergency room, what did they ask you? Was this an accident? Did this happen at work? Is there somebody else that's responsible for the bill? That is so your insurance company can subrogate those damages and make their money back, because they don't want to have to pay out in a medical claim. So what ends up happening is if they are not properly insured with workman's comp and one of the hunks trip on the step and breaks a leg, they're likely going to sue, even though they're not required to have workman's comp, and their insurance likely won't cover them. $37,000 bill is $37,000 bill. So that's the lowdown on that. What's the rule for that in Canada?
It depends on which province you live in. If you live in Alberta, you have to have workers' compensation coverage. And if you are in Ontario, you don't have to. And you're right, we do have OHIP, we have universal health care. But what you might want to also look at, though, is an insurance through Jones Delorier to cover you in the event that you are sick and you can't work, you can't generate money, right? You want to make sure. There's a whole bunch of things going on with the hunks in the trunk here. Like, it's a big distraction.
Handle the hunk.
The other thing I wanted to be sure I mentioned with that SRM staging policy that you were talking about, one of the big benefits of that is that in the event that something has gone wrong, there's a fire, there's a flood, whatever, the last thing that the homeowner is thinking about is you. So with the SRM policy in place, you can activate the claim right away because your name's on that policy. Right. So rather than waiting for their insurance to kick in, their insurance won't cover you. And of course, your insurance won't be dinged with that SRM in place.
Yep. So Anne's asking what to do about the hunks in the truck. Do you not use them given the potential issues? I wouldn't. If they're not properly insured, I would not be bringing an unproperly insured anything into one of my clients' homes. You are opening yourself up to a huge Pandora's box.
Which includes your son, your daughter, your friend, your neighbor. Get real, get in business, and protect everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
Not a side hustle for people.
Okay, so Joanna, I see that you sent something to me in the chat. We actually already covered that. Okay, so we're gonna move on from this. Is it beneficial to rent large furniture pieces instead of buying and keeping it in a storage unit? Allison would like to know. I would say, yeah, if you're starting out and you're not going to go out and invest $100,000 into everything. Absolutely. Get a great relationship with a rental company, build a relationship with them, because over time, and if you start to get your volume, they might be able to give you better deals, and you can negotiate some special things. And then you can use storage units. Most people start out in storage units after they leave their garages in order to put their accessories in there. Christine, what do you think about this?
Absolutely. It's sort of what we said in the first question. But if you're going to get a storage unit for your accessories, think about where you're going as opposed to where you are. Meaning, don't just get a little small unit, because before you know where you are, you're going to need another unit. And if they're not in the same location, you're going to be running around. You know, I know somebody who has 8 different storage units, but they're not all on the same lot even, you know, so lamps are in one place, sofas in another. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. And I always remember Todd McAllister always said, if you're going to get storage, small or large, get it as close to the house that you live in as possible. Because the last thing you want to do is drive an hour to work before you can pick up your inventory, and the same at the end of the day. So you might have to pay a little bit more, but it's worth it. So it's like, take it from somebody who's the king of staging, who knows what he's talking about. I always remember that. It just was so resonant with me. It's like, yep, that is a big tip, really big tip.
Yep, absolutely. So Tanya's asking, can you use a basic spreadsheet to track inventory, especially decor items, or is there software? Great question. Software. There's a couple things of software. There's one called My Darby, and there's another one called Stageforce. And Stageforce is the newer one on to the platform. Here's the thing about inventory. You're going to pay a monthly subscription for one of these programs, but you need to, that's the biggest thing, the mistakes that we have another one coming up on what are some of the mistakes. So I'll just jump into one. Not planning ahead with what is that you're doing and saying, you know what, when I can afford this, I'll do this down the line. I'll build a website in a year when I can really afford it. That's your calling card. You've got to get a great website up first before you can get any type of business, so you can afford more later. So when you're looking at inventory, a lot of people, they say, oh, I'll track it in a year when I really have something to track. Then you're going to be upside down. You're going to spend, $15 an hour paying somebody for data entry that'll sit there for a week trying to add everything in. So I would look at those types of systems sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and My Darby was the original software that was developed by a stager for stagers, which is a huge organization. And you can buy a hand scanner, so you can scan in your items, and that's really a time saver, because you can move them from job to job, and you're scanning them back into your inventory instead of having to do all the data entry. So it's a big deal. You should start your inventory software the first time you buy a towel or a cushion, whatever that first piece is. You need that software. So I know you think, okay, Excel spreadsheet, nightmare waiting to happen, because you can have photographs on the software. You can have your SKU numbers, where you bought it. It tracks how much money you've made on each item. It's the name of the game, making money.
Yep, absolutely. So Cindy's asking, do you recommend starting with accessory staging and building up to furniture? So that's kind of a loaded question. So Cindy, can you type in, I'm going to ask you a question. When you say accessory staging, do you mean vignettes? Just a little bit of something to kind of warm up a space while you're typing the answer into that? Yes, no, I don't recommend that you ever do that. So
you're doing occupied property and you're supplementing what they have with accessories. That's different than having a vacant room with a solitary mat and 2 lawn chairs and a cushion. It's just like not.
And a broke down Michael's tree in the corner. So
oh my God.
No. Vignette staging is going to make you look like a rookie. It is going to make you look like a hobbyist. It's going to make you look like you don't know what you're doing. And it doesn't do any justice to the property whatsoever, because when people walk through, they go, ew, this is really sparse. And ew, this
not only that, more importantly, it gives us all a bad name.
It does.
You are working locally, but you have to think and work globally.
Yes.
It's the image of all of us.
Big
so people
picture.
Who've been in the business for 20 years and have really got a stellar reputation, it's all jeopardized when people are, mucking about like you just described. In my opinion, it's a beef that I have.
In my opinion as well. I agree with you 100%. you are diluting this industry down. It's watered down. It's not correct. In addition, with your own reputation, because people are walking through the property and they say, you know, you've got your great little sign out because you're so proud of your staging. You're trying to get started. You want business, and they see that, and they're going to go, really? I'm going to hire her for this? No, don't ever do that. Not good.
And it's why, you know, we include the inventory software with our tuition because it's such an important part of you getting started. So
that's awesome. I didn't know you guys did that. There's a little.
It's more than a number.
That's a little nugget for you guys. It's a really good deal.
More than a number. What can I tell you? Right.
Okay, so do I need a certification to shop wholesale vendors for your staging business? No, you don't need a certification. You need a resale license, a tax certificate. They call it different things in different states.
Yeah.
In Canada, I believe it's your HST you need.
No, that's a provincial thing. So you need a reseller license.
It's called that in Canada too?
It's a reseller license, yes. Each province has different rules. There's some have HST is harmonized sales tax. So it's goods and services. Some places just have sales tax.
Gotcha.
Right. So we pay 13% on everything.
Wow. So get your resale license, and that's what you need. And if you are going to buy wholesale, we suggest you check out the RESA buying group. If you are a RESA member, this comes with your RESA membership. It's not even available to non-members. And what we've done is I've been able to go in with different wholesale vendors and negotiated better pricing. So normally when you walk in the door, you can get their designer pricing right off the top. I've been able to go in and say, look, I'm bringing all these stagers to us, treat us like a big group, and do things like waive your minimum orders, cap your freight. What else do we do? Give us a percentage below the designer pricing. In some places, I've got percentage below stocking dealer. So when you walk in the door, you get designer pricing as anybody can get. Then normally when you're buying a whole lot more big amounts, 5,000, 20,000, big amounts, you get what's called stocking dealer price. And then when you're spending like 80,000 more, you might get a percentage below that. So certain vendors that we work with have given us a percentage below stocking dealer. So check that out. All the information's on resabuyinggroup.com.
Right. And one of the things I was really impressed with that, Charlotte, it's like if you had just walked in, you know, to buy retail and you were purchasing stuff for one house, let's say it's $14,500, the walk-in off the street discount would be $6,500, but the RESA buying group, it would be something like $4,500. It's a huge savings. It's well worth checking out if you are going to be buying inventory.
Yeah. Now, when you are buying wholesale and you're using your resale license, there are tax implications. So in the United States, you file what's called a sales and use tax. You don't collect sales tax per se because you're not selling that item, you're using it. So there's a different type of taxation that needs to go with this. So your CPA will be able to walk you through that. What is it like in Canada? Same sales and use?
You know what? I can't answer the question because I don't have the answer to that. I don't know.
I think they actually might call it sales and use as well.
I always say, you know, you need a tax accountant.
Yep. Lots of places for RESA wholesale in Canada. So let's talk about the Canadian vendors. We do have several Canadian vendors that will ship from Canada. Here's one of the caveats. You can use any of the, if you're in Canada, you can buy from any of the vendors that we have. A lot of them they ship from the United States. So the freight is what kills you. So it may not be worth it. So even if we don't have deals in Canada, you can go to the furniture show in May. They always have an annual furniture show. You can set up your own deals with them. You can still get their designer pricing. But the problem in Canada is because we have a much smaller concentration of members in that area, it makes it very difficult because we don't have a lot of them, a huge amount that are buying wholesale. So if I have 50 in Canada that are buying wholesale, that's not as attractive if I say, you know, there's hundreds in the United States and we kind of package them all together. So what we try to do is find one that services both areas, especially if I can find one that has warehouses like in Toronto. That's awesome because then I can make deals with them and they service both areas and it makes it great. And yes, Marlo, freight is brutal, but we got a lot of freight caps. So that's good.
Yep. How
do you gain experience without giving your services away? Here's the short answer, Melissa. And
you don't.
You work, and you charge for it. You just don't. You have 100% control. Nobody else has any control over you giving your services away but you. So if you are, stop. If you're not, don't ever try it. It's just one of those things. Christine, how many people have we coached over the years that say, oh, I'll just give a few freebies away and it's a disaster. Don't do it. Nothing, right?
There is no value in free.
No.
There is no value in free, and there's no need for you to give your work away. Your perception is either I need to show them how good I am, and therefore they will give me all their business, which is not true, and it doesn't happen. And second of all, it's your lack of confidence. And confidence is a gift that you give yourself, and it comes from knowing that you are top of your game. So if your confidence is wavering, then you need to fix that. You do not have to give your work away.
100% agreed. Couldn't have said it better. We know so many people over the years that we've both coached, and it's always a confidence issue, because you can have 2 stagers bid a job and one can be $3,000 more, and that person will get it, and they'll get it every time. So when you see the big stagers that are out there, the Michelle Minches and the Todd McAllisters, you know, and the Barbara Hill Sonics, Anthea Clicks, they walk in and they just command it. They don't ask for the money and to close the deal like you are asking for the total at the McDonald's drive-thru. They expect to get that $2.10 when I order a small coffee and a sausage McMuffin. And they say it like they know I'm going to give it to them. And that's how you got to have that type of confidence. It's really that simple. And when you balk at it and you feel that unwavering on the inside, that's something that you can always work on. And the way that you do it is practice, 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 practice. Just have to keep
You
going.
fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Or as we used to say, you know, you have to have a checkup from the neck up.
Check up from the neck up. Zig,
this
zig,
is what, this is the biggest problem, you know, mindset and prosperity, thinking.
Yeah, and definitely, now that you mentioned that, so there's the first book that I ever read that got me into positive thinking and motivation and sales was Zig Ziglar, See You at the Top. And that's where you get a checkup from the neck up. And I recommend getting any type of business books that you can read that are about prosperity and wealth building and attitude, and flood yourself with that, especially now, drowning out everything that's negative in the world and putting something positivity in your path will always help.
Right. Seth Godin, The Purple Cow.
There you go. I haven't read that one yet.
Oh, it's good.
Does he do you do the audiobook?
I do not. I like a book that I can hold and turn the pages.
Mm.
And I know how far we are. It's just like video marketing. I hate it.
Yeah.
When I have to listen and I don't know how long that flipping thing is going to be, I just cut it off. I want to read it. I am a reader. So that comes from knowing your demographic, you know. That's older true. People are not into that video. So
I like the audiobooks. However, there are some of the authors don't always record them. And sometimes the people they choose, and I'm like, did they not listen to this person before they chose them? It's like, I can't listen. So I bought a few lately that I was like, I can't, it's like nails on a chalkboard. I couldn't listen to her. She was really bad.
This is it. The voice drives you up the wall, but your mind wanders. Like you start thinking about other things. That's what I find. When you're in a book, I love reading. That's how I get away from.
I can't see anymore. So, you know, I'm blind.
Well, you know, the glasses get bigger and the glass gets thicker, I think. You know, I was looking around here and I probably got about 10 pairs of glasses.
I know the feeling. I've got some in my barn even, because I'm looking at meds going, how much do I give this horse? What do we do?
Yeah.
Okay, so I recently completed a training program, but I still feel a bit in the dark in marketing during COVID when starting out. Any tips from Britt?
Well, I hope to God you are not a CSP graduate saying that, because I teach you all that stuff. So if you are, then you need to get back with me. But yeah, you need to build relationships. I can tell you, it's easy to say. It is really easy to say. How do you market during COVID? And, you know, you've got to be on social media for sure, but building relationships on LinkedIn. 82% of people check you out on LinkedIn. So that's a great way for you to build a relationship with people one-on-one. Excuse me. You have to have a client retention management program that's working for you so that you are consistently marketing. You got to up your game during this time. You could do host a virtual party, and you could do a virtual party that you are supporting something locally, maybe your healthcare workers locally, or some issue that's going on in your particular marketplace. Charge the money and put it from there. But there's lots of free training for LinkedIn. Know that they're trying to sell you something else, but just listen to the training on how you build relationships and take it offline, so that you are interacting with that person. It's one of the best things. I mean, it's also getting creative with your normal outreach. What you would do in person, you have to do now virtually.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It is also a time, like if you're someone who's scared of that. I had somebody say to me yesterday, well, I'm waiting for the COVID to be over before I do any marketing. I'm like, do you honestly think it's going to be over quick? This is a multi-year challenge for businesses. So you'll be waiting for a long time. So, if you're a little bit apprehensive about reaching out to people, this is the time then to put into a strong foundation for your business. You can always generate leads. Do you have a sales funnel going on? Like, how do you get leads? You have to get leads before you can get prospects. And you have to have prospects before you can get customers. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges in our industry with new people coming into it, is that they don't see it as a sales job. And, they gloss over when it's about sales. It's like, okay, it's a consistent, think of it like a game. That's how I like to always think of sales. It's just a game. Like baseball, you are up to bat and you have to get round the pitch. And I never played baseball, so I'm making it up. Is pitch the right thing? The field, I don't know. You got to hit the ball and then run, right? So it's like you have to begin with the end in mind. When you are reaching out to somebody, you know where it's going to end. So, it goes back to the confidence thing. You are going to be a customer of mine. Short or long term, you are going to be a customer of mine. 82% of people will actually work with you within 2 years if you keep in touch with them. But the most stagers give up after 2 times. I met them. They told me to call and I did. Now what do I do? It's like, it can take 10 times before somebody remembers you. So another problem with our industry is perception. 2 flipping perceptions that drives me mad is, one is there's a perception that we're all the same. We're a commodity. There's no difference between one stager or another. And so therefore, when that is their perception, they choose cheap price. And you've got to be able to articulate your value. So this is a time when you can really practice. Have you recorded yourself and then listened to yourself selling your service? Why should somebody trust themselves or trust their house, their biggest investment, to you? Why should that happen? If you can't do that in a couple of sentences, if you can't articulate that in a couple of sentences, then that's a time you need to start writing it out and start practicing so that you can say it always the same thing every time, right? Your audio logo.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I don't think I've ever heard that before.
Hey,
I learned something.
You know what a CSP, Shell? What can I tell you?
All righty. So next question. I could not agree. I agree with everything.
Well, it is an important thing to realize that sales is a process.
Yes.
And you can teach yourself the process, or somebody can teach you the process.
And if you're not good at it, hire somebody.
You can learn it. So it's the majority of people that come into staging have a dream of moving the furniture and hanging the art and placing the accessories. And that is simply a job within your business. So think about that. The bulk of your business is the other stuff, right? The planning, the sourcing, the designing, the telephone calls, the following up with people who you think don't want to hear from you, right? It's not hard if you know that it's a process and it's a game. That's
Numbers
all
game.
you've got to think about. It's a game.
It's a numbers game. It's one of those things I always tell people too. Keep track of your phone calls. Keep a sheet and say, I've talked to 10 people and I got 1 job. Great. Now you know your sales ratio. So now you up your goal and you literally make a written goal. This week, I'm going to land 3 jobs, 1 consultation, 3 stagings. And you speak now to 15 people and you know you got 2 of them now. So now you know every 15 people you talk to, you got 2. All numbers are relative, of course, for the example, but that's how you build it. And that's what you want to do, is always go back to your goals and your numbers and make it a game. That's the best way that I can describe to do it. But you've got it. That's data that you need to be on top of as well. And the other thing is, when you're talking to these people, you're going to always learn something. You're learning what the temperature is of the potential clients that are out there in your marketplace every time you speak to somebody. So one day you're going to say something and it's going to resonate and you're going to get a good reaction. So you're going to make a note of that. I mean, not just a mental note, but write it down. And that way over time, you can develop your sales pitch. And you know, what anybody that you're talking, you'll be able to answer these questions just like this because you'll have so much practice at it.
Well, and the other thing is, you know, there's 5 major objections and you need to be able to articulate the answer back to them. You know, that's a big factor. They're going to say no. So what are they going to say no to? It's too much money. I can get it for less somewhere else. You know, so there's 5 major objections. Learn the script to be able to overcome them, anticipate them when you are out talking to business. And, you know, yes, you'll make phone calls. Think of call centers. That's what I always think about. Think about being a call center operator. And every single day for 8 hours a day, you're going to call people who are going to slam the phone down and say no. And yet globally, call centers are huge. Why do they exist? It's because they work. Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to say, yes, I've been waiting for your call. I will buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to do that for a living. I was a telemarketer. I first started out, my very first job, I was 16 years old. I was telemarketing. So I was sitting in a phone room in the 1980s where people were smoking their cigarettes with the dial phones. And we had pieces of paper that you marked every 5 phone calls with a hash mark through it in order to make your phone calls, that you had to call out people who would just hang up on you and hang up on you and hang up on you. It took a lot of rejection, man.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk to me? Okay, let me hook you up. You got so invited. They didn't hang up on me this time. So here's the next question. What's the best way to market your business? All of them. All the ways. You cannot neglect anything in your business. What I will say about this is that there are some things that are square peg round hole. For example, I had a dear friend of mine who had a staging business who went to Women's Council of Realtor meetings. And I think she went to 2 or 3 of them. And so we were talking because my mode of growing businesses, I'm into the networking. So I would be at all the events. That's what I would be doing if I was marketing a business. I'd go to every single local realtor association meeting. I go to their networking meetings. I go to their caravans. I would do their fundraisers, you name it. That's where I would be. And I would get involved. She was telling me one time, she's like, oh yeah, I tried WCR. It didn't work for me. I'm like, oh, well, tell me about that. What was it? She's like, yeah, I went 2 times. Nobody even knew me. And I'm like, you gotta go for it twice. I mean, it was square peg round hole. It was one of those things that she's like, I'm just not comfortable doing it. I don't want to go and do that. So she didn't do that for her business. She relied on other methods, which worked for her. But if it's one of those things that you have a business partner, you get to a point where you can bring people in to delegate, that's something that is a really good function, is to be able to network at other industry associations, in addition to local chapters, other stagers, but just getting your name out there to market your business. But you don't want to neglect everything. You've got websites, you've got social media, word of mouth, newsletters. What else?
Referrals. Everybody lives in a house. It's like, start with a list of all the people that you know. Right? So your neighbors, your friends, keep them in columns or silos, or tag them in your client retention management so that you can send a targeted letter or approach out to those particular people. As you start your marketing, your outreach marketing, you're going to get people coming in the funnel. Think of an inverted funnel. So you've got to put a lot of people in at the top. So how are you going to reach those people? Is it going to be a newsletter? Is it going to be with your social media? So as they come in, they're filtering through. 90% of people don't know that they need you. They just don't know that they need you. Doesn't mean that they haven't heard about staging, but you know, you can say any group, you can say 90% of sellers don't know that their house will sell faster and for more money working with you. 90% of real estate agents, and that seems like a lot, but it's not that they don't know about staging, it's just they don't know the value of you as it relates to their job, right? It's not about, you know, working with the sellers, it's about if you want repeat business, the real estate agents are where it's at. Yep. And they're on commission and they don't want to stop and listen to you, blah, 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 blah. You've got to have a targeted laser approach to the real estate agent, right? So it's like only 3 people in 100 know they have a problem and are looking for a solution. Yeah. So it's not to make you feel sort of dejected. It's for you to get the reality of where you are. You can speak to 100 agents and you might get 3 customers, right? You could speak to 5 people a day for a whole year and you'll have 1,300 people in your database. And 99% of them can say, no, I'm not interested in working with you. But you've still got 13 customers and that can still net you $100,000 in business. So it's definitely, you know, part of how do you look at things? You know, is it glass half empty or is it glass half full? And that comes back to your mindset and your confidence. It's like you've a gift and you want to bring that gift to the world. So playing small does not serve the world. You know, as Marianne Williamson says, you know, so shine your light. You literally have to believe yourself that the world is waiting for you to bring this gift. And you've just got to find the way. But if you don't believe in your head that you are the best, that you are great, that you are going to get business, these are the things that you have to think about daily. People flowing to you, people being kind, people willing to pay you money, not cheap and nasty people. They exist, but I don't want to work with them. You know, you're attracting into your life all the time what you think about the most. And if your thoughts are about lack, guess what? It replicates out in your life, right? And believe me, you know, been there, done that, worn the t-shirt for many years. It's easier for you to learn it the younger you are. I wish they would teach it in school.
Oh, man. Oh, yes.
I have a great grandson who's just turned 4. And, you know, he wears the pajamas, Paw Patrol. So therefore he is. And he's Superman and he's whatever. You know, if you can just remember that when you were back being a child, that you could do anything and you could be anything. That's what you need to bring to today, because there's nobody that says only Marlo can be successful, only Joanna, only, you know, Christina. All of you, it's an ocean of abundance out there. There's tons and tons and tons and tons, thousands and thousands of properties that go on the market every single year and do not sell. Do not sell.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. So let's talk about that for a minute. So not only do you want to market to real estate agents because they're the ones that are going to give you the steady repeat business, you also want to market to homeowners. So how do you do that? Well, number one, you want to speak to them on your website. So you have a section about that for homeowners. In addition, you can go to just about any of the home staging or the real estate property sales sites, realtor.com, Redfin, Zillows, whatever they are, anything that lists real estate for sale. And you can use a query. And so Redfin definitely does it, but it's not in all areas. Just do a query, say, show me all the homes that have been on the market between 60 and 120 days or over 100 days or over 60 days in a certain area that you know you want to work in. And you can go through and you can look at all of these homes. And especially if they're occupied and you're wanting to work with occupieds, go through and look at all the occupieds and see what's staged and what's not. And when it's not staged and you think you can help these people, put together a 1-page magazine quality flyer with your best work on it and do what I call a claim to fame. You're going to ask them a question. Has your home been on the market for more than X amount of days, unsold with no listings? ? My company name can help. Call us today. Put your best information, your logo, your picture, your phone number, everything on here, maybe a couple facts about staging, and then snail mail it to them. Good old fashioned snail mail. Handwrite the envelope in your branded envelope and see where that gets you. And you can do this over time, and you can track this too. You can do an Excel spreadsheet. You can track all the properties, what you sent to them, see if you get any responses, but send them a new one, a fresh one every couple weeks, and try to get to them that way. So that's a great way to be able to market to the homeowner.
Yeah, drip marketing.
Drip marketing is where it's at.
But, you know, don't put them in an Excel spreadsheet, put it in a client retention management program.
Yes, you can do that too.
Right.
Is it important to build your inventory prior to having any customers?
No.
Nope.
No. You need customers first. Don't go out and shop. Don't use it as an excuse to shop. Sorry. Get a job first.
Exactly.
You'll have enough time.
All right. What is the best way to establish relationships with realtors? Over time, this is one thing I think we both know. What Christine kind of hit it on it earlier, and I always say they don't want to have lunch with you. They don't care to have coffee with you. So that's the number one thing I hear a lot of people say, oh, Colin, can I buy you a cup of coffee, or can I pick your brain? No, don't do that.
Please don't say, can I pick your brain? There's nothing more revolting visually than picking somebody's brain. Yeah, no.
In addition, it's already setting you up for to be viewed as it's just a devalued. Anytime somebody says that, it's because you want something for free, or they don't have the time to do it. So you want to market with them, and then join your local association of realtors, your local women's council of realtors. Other associations can join, builders associations, any type of an association that has people that you want to work with. So I personally would stay away from B&I groups. If money's not an issue and you can just have money budgeted to be able to join Chamber of Commerce, is okay. But in reality, that's not going to be a big pool for you. So I personally wouldn't do it, but I know some people like to do it. So I would stay away from the chambers and the B&I groups, but any realtor associations or builders, women's councils, great sources to be able to get involved with. Anything to add, Christine? All right.
I think so.
Best way to structure price.
Let me just go back one thing on that, is understand that what it is you're selling and how it is of value to them. And know your approach, like already have gone through the process in your mind before you reach out to an agent. You really have to know why you're calling them.
Yes. Agreed. Annie, BNI, that's the last one I'd ever put my money with, BNI groups. So the best way to structure pricing for staging and for redesign. Nancy, if you're asking this question, is most likely that you have not received core training from an accredited training provider of RESA. So we could talk for hours about pricing, but if you want the short answer, it's your cost plus whatever it is that you need to make it worth it to get out of bed that day and go do the job. So how people arrive at price, in my opinion, is irrelevant. You can price by the square foot. You can price by the room. You can price by the hour. Doesn't matter.
You can't do any of those pricing jobs. You can't do any of those pricing models until you've determined how much you're worth.
Exactly. So you've got a lot of exercises that you got to go through with your business. And number one is you want to look at your business plan. What is your business model? What do you need to bring in? What are your goals? And then you set everything accordingly with that. So that's the short answer. You can get a much more detailed answer by taking core training. So we definitely recommend that. And I will touch on that. And I think Felicia just posted a link in our chat box as well. What 3 major mistakes to avoid as you first start out in home staging? Oh, only 3? Are we limited to 3?
Yeah, I was going to say only 3. Never underprice your services.
Don't give it away for free.
Don't underestimate the power of the consultation.
Oh, that's a good one.
You are not in the decorating business. You're in the real estate business.
True. Don't use a crappy website to get started.
Don't think it's going to be easy. You know, I think that's another thing that people think it's going to be instant. You just go out and talk to somebody and therefore you get business. It's like, no, it takes a lot of work.
Fine.
You know, you got to plan strategy, you got to have money, you got to have time. But it comes, like, not to deter you at all, but more to inspire you. I always think of, you probably have never heard of this guy. His name is John Patterson. So if you are all young, you've never heard of John Patterson for sure. But John Patterson in the middle 1800s. So think about that. No technology, no fax machines, no telephones. It was Pony Express. He started, if you want, the very first sort of sales agents. He recruited guys. He would only hire men, of course, during that time. And he made them go to boot camp, and he made them physically fit. And what they were going to go out across the US selling the cash register when nobody had a cash register. Why would I need a cash register? I'm taking money and I'm putting it in a drawer. I'm putting it in my pocket. And so what he did, all his advertising was about the receipt. And he had a very voluptuous looking lady in an elegant gown saying, make sure you ask for the receipt. And that was his calling card to get you to buy one of these machines. And they eventually went on to National Cash Register, which was bought out by IBM. You know, so all the way back, John had an idea and he thought it through all the way. So he couldn't sell a cash register until he'd made the guys fit and understand what's the value of you having this and being able to sell the value. So it goes all the way back to, you know, you. Major mistakes are thinking that it's going to be easy and you're not doing your due diligence. You know, that's where confidence comes from, knowing that you know the answers to the questions. Because it's not about fluffing the pillows, as you put it on one of those questions. It really isn't. The pillows have to be in the right place. Well, sure. But building your business takes work.
Let me add to that. Stagers, one of the major mistakes they make is that they give up. They hit an obstacle and they give up. And let me tell you something, people, obstacles are there to keep people out that don't want it badly enough. So if you give up, you definitely did not want it badly enough. Because I know one thing, if there's an obstacle in my path or in Christine's path, do you know what we do? You dig a tunnel underneath of it. You throw your friend over the top and they pull you up over the top. You scale it, you blow it up with C4, you go around it, you build a wall and steps to get over the top. You do whatever you need to do to get over that obstacle. So
right. Like look at COVID right now. It's like, okay, well, we can't go out and meet with real estate agents. All right, well, you can meet them online. I've told you, go to LinkedIn. All right, well, then how can we do that? Write this down. So, you know, www.meetchristineray.com. And it's not a website, but it's my card. You're supposed to look it up on your phone. See my virtual card. It goes into every email. It goes into social media. And it gets all your contact information out very simply. And if you scroll to the bottom of mine, you can get your own. It's $35 in the US and it's, I don't know, $54 in Canada. And it's like not per day, per year, per month, period. That's all you have to pay. You can't even buy decent business cards for $35. You know, you need a virtual card. Be a leader. Get out there, pay the money, and start getting it out into your database, you know, out to your list. Make a list of all the people that you know. That's the first thing. You could get your business card out to all the people that you know, connect with them on social media and say, please send them out to your peeps, right? Because it's like spreading the word. Think of them as foot soldiers, right? So all the people that you know all know people that you don't know. You got to keep the chain going.
Yep, definitely. So we've got a poll going on. So anybody can take this poll. We got 20 out of 29 people. So the question was, have you completed core training? 14% of the people said, or 70% of the people said yes. 15% said no, and 15% are still in their training. So that's actually pretty good. And have you done your first home staging? 55% said yes, 45% said no. So that's pretty awesome. I'm going to go ahead and end this because it won't move Joanna or Felicia. So I'm going to end that poll. I think I can share the results.
Very good.
There you go. All right.
Très bien. Très bien. Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
So how do you build relationships to get a new business off the ground in year one? I think we've just covered so much of this. You've got to do everything. It's got to be a full scale.
And it's not just year one, it's like forever. You will be marketing forever.
Forever.
Don't ever give up. Don't ever cut back on your marketing.
So do you ever, that's the one thing, let's talk about that for a quick second. So many people, it's like when they get busy, they stop marketing and then they find a lull and they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? We don't have any business. It's like, especially when you don't have business, that's when you need to be doing your marketing, but you don't ever want to stop. You need shampoo, rinse, repeat, put things out there, get things on your schedule, use it as social media calendar. Our team here at RESA, Felicia does an amazing job with her team, and Joanna, they have, they plan everything a year in advance. So right now in the last 2 months at RESA HQ, we've been creating our strategic plan for the next 2 years. And they do that. They map it out through the whole year. So they know ahead of time what needs to be done. So they're not struggling last minute to come up with content. Do you ever contract with a realtor to get paid at closing? Let's talk about this. Number one, I personally don't think real estate agents should be paying for stagings, for full stagings. I think the homeowner should pay for it. Do you agree, Christine?
I absolutely do.
Yep. Consults, I have no problem. I think they should pay for a consult, especially in a little occupied consultation. Let me send Sally Stager over, do everything she says to do. She's going to help you. That I don't have a problem with. But if you're going to offer payment out of escrow, here's some things to consider. There's a company that we work with called Zoom Casa, and they're a concierge-based company. So if you bring the client, if you have a client that says, I love you, but I don't have 5K right now, can you take this out of closing? You say, absolutely we can. I work with Zoom Casa. Let me connect you. You get with Zoom Casa. They review the plan. And of course, there's going to be a fee to be able to do that. So what they do is they contract with the homeowner to accept that, to pay you up front, and then they will get paid back out of escrow. And of course, there's a fee anywhere between 10 and 20%, depending on where you're located. And the other side of Zoom Casa, if you register with them and you're on their approved provider list, there's no fee to you to do that. They also get leads by people that call them and say, hey, we need a bid on home staging. So if you're in their rotation, they can reach out to you and say, do you want to go bid a job? You go bid the job just like you normally would. You give your bid to Zoom Casa, you tell them how much it is. They're going to tell you how much the fee is to be able to put on that. Everything gets sent to the homeowner. If they accept it, then you're still going to get paid up front. You're going to use your regular contract with the client and do everything like you normally would. And they've brought you the client, and you're not even going to pay a referral fee for them. As far as doing it on your own, I would not ever recommend that you agree to take anything out of escrow on your own. You can have an ironclad contract. You can even agree to get a credit card up front on file to charge it at the end if something falls through or they decide not to sell, or, You
are not a bank.
You're not a bank, number one.
You are not a bank.
But they can also close their credit card down. It can go over limits. It's just no.
But if you're in the US, you can use PayPal. They have a service where the seller of property can borrow the money. 6 months, they have to pay it back interest-free. It's called Bill Me Later. And in Canada, you could use PayBright. So you would be the vendor. You would have to apply to be the vendor and have that option on your website.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I made a note before we came on here that Zoom Casa was the last thing that we were going to talk about something. Do you remember what it was? Because I didn't write what we were going to talk about.
I don't know, but there's a question up here. It says, if you use a cell phone, is there a way to have two numbers? Yes, there is. And it's a service that I know of. It's called Grasshopper. Grasshopper.com. It's about $10 a month. And you can have a business number on your cell phone. It comes to the same cell phone. So, yeah.
Okay, so this is awesome. So we're going to go on this next slide. I want to tell you a little bit about something we are doing. I am going to have a state of the industry meeting in next month, and we need you guys to fill out a survey. Even if you're new, go ahead and answer the survey. If you go to the homepage of our website, realestatestagingassociation.com, you can link to the survey there. We are going to give away some $100 gift cards. We want you to answer honestly. We're just trying to get a real scope on the industry. We see so many people asking the same questions over and over. In addition, we get phone calls weekly from journalists wanting to know information about home staging, as well as homeowners and real estate agents. So people are wanting to know, what are the averages? Where do things start at? Stagers want to know, how much do you pay your staging assistants? We want to be able to track for people when they say, how much money can you make in home staging? We want to be able to see, you know what, we've done this big survey, and typically between the years 1 and 2, this is where you're at. Between 3 and 5, this is where you come in. Lots of great information. And so we really appreciate you taking that call to do the survey and answer honestly. It takes about 15 minutes. You might need your P&L or your accounting software to answer some questions. Some questions won't apply, and you can write doesn't apply as an answer option. So we appreciate that. I also want to talk to you about training. It is so imperative. And I know that we had a few people on here that haven't gotten into core training yet. So these are accredited training providers. Christine is our accredited training provider, and she has sponsored this program today. So we appreciate you coming on and investing your evening with us, Christine. What does it mean to be accredited? Let me tell you what that means. So RESA, we're a not-for-profit organization, which means I don't own the company. Our members own the company. It's your organization. And as such, it is one of our responsibilities to be able to create standards and establish high standards in staging training. So we accredit core training providers, which means that we look at their books, their policies, their procedures, their emails, how many people are in their company, how many times do they meet if they have partnerships, and we mandate that you have to teach over 62 subjects that would be considered something you would need to learn in order to start a staging business. So they go through a literal combing through of the entire business and a long application process, and usually send us, the application is like this big, it's huge with all their books and everything. So Christine has gone through that. She was one of the first accredited training providers. And I strongly suggest that you check it out. Christine, can you tell everybody a little bit about your program? How long is it, and your website address?
Website address is stagingtraining.com. And tell you a little bit about the class. Everything that you need from A to Z, you know, where to get the leads, how to talk to the people, what to bring with you, how to follow up. We have the tools that you need to do the business, like a client retention management program and the inventory software. We literally give you everything. We have a social media package that comes with it. So it's like getting set up. It's more than just the tuition. So I am teaching online. I do, either a full day over a month. There's 4 Saturdays, or I'm doing evening sessions, and you can find it out on the calendar. I got to send you our new logo, because that's an old one you have up there.
Okay. All righty. Question from Cindy. We'll go freestyle. We've got a few more minutes. Actually, we're at about 5 o'clock. So let's take Cindy's last question. 2 questions on here. Do you recommend waiting until you've gone through all of this before getting your feet wet and offering some services now? If you mean go through all of this means training, what we recommend is that you are prepared for the Pandora's box in which you are about to open if you go out and you start to offer some sort of services. If you're prepared and you're confident in it and you have the ability to fulfill your promises, there's no problem in getting business. If you are not, I don't recommend it. There's nothing worse than going out and starting something and then you tank, or you get in and you're really over your head, and then that's this new client, that's their first impression of you, and it's really hard to get over that. So you just really want to be prepared. But again, you've got so many things that you need to get squared away. You need contracts, you need insurance, you need training, you need your website, you need to have all of that information. And thank you for typing that in. This next question was about Christine's virtual business card. So that's meetchristineray.com. And that's, I just think
the question about, should I get my feet wet first before I do all this stuff? And it's just like thinking about a restaurant. They've rented the place and they've got some chairs, but they don't have enough money for tables. And they only, on certain days, they have money to buy food, but they can't provide a full menu yet. And they can't give you wine either. It's just like, think about that. And now you're going to a professional real estate agent to say, hire me. That real estate agent's invested like $15,000 to get their business up and running. and you don't even have a decent business card, and you don't have a website, you haven't, it's just, they all had to get their first listing. We all had to get our first job. So it's not that just because you're new, you're not going to be hired. You are not new. Your business is new. Your skill sets aren't. You know, you've been moving furniture around in your bedroom since you were 3. So it's like, think about it. And now you're professional going to a professional. That's what you have to think about. Why should somebody pay you really good money to get your advice? Right? It's not a decorating job. And even on a decorating, not to sort of negate the skill set of decorating, but this is a serious job that we have. It's fun if you want to think about it as fun, but it's serious. You know, I think you should take it seriously.
Yep, absolutely. So Cindy was saying she's an agent. She has people within her office asking for help. She's the one who asked the question, do you get the feet wet? Here's the thing. If you're working with other professionals in your office and you don't have some of these things, again, it's a Pandora's box, especially with people that you work with. I know we probably can't get into all of our opinions on agents staging for other agents in their offices. I mean, it could go well and it can go really bad. Want to comment on that before we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's my opinion, and I'm telling you, this is, I don't think that real estate agents should be staging their own listings. You don't do mortgage brokers. You don't cut the grass. You're not going to paint for them. So why do it? And the answer is because I like doing it. You know, that's not a good enough reason. And you're saying, okay, well, I want to help my client. Okay. But if you're not doing it 100% of your time, what if what you do is only your interpretation of what you think is good and you jeopardize the sale? What if? Yeah. Right? That's what's at jeopardy. The equity of the house. That's why I say it's a serious responsibility. When you're a stager, you are charged with the responsibility to secure the equity in the house, and you have to visually demonstrate that. So moving a few things around and throwing a few cushions over on the couch is not it. It's not the best job possible. Right. If you are a stagent, that's what we call you. If you want to be a stagent, then start a staging business as a arm of your business and hire stagers because you can feed them the leads and you can definitely funnel it through your office. But we have to get real with this. It's not a fluffy thing.
A lot of times I talk to agents, and I know you do too. I probably get 2 phone calls a day, if not 2 to 5 phone calls a day from real estate agents that think they want to stage for other agents in their office. And you know, I'm always very honest with them. And I usually just say, so can I have a minute to try to talk you out of that for a minute? Or do you want to know the ins and outs of it? I try to make a joke about it because ultimately when I give them permission to kind of do a deep dive into what it really means to be a professional stager and what you bring to the table, they're like, I had no idea. Stagers have trucks. And it's like, we're not all Samantha Stevens, you know. I just aged myself for y'all younger people. It's Bewitched, she wiggled her nose and stuff happened. So stagers make it look that easy, but a lot of the agents, they don't realize that stagers have warehouses, that stagers have inventory systems, that they have employees, that, you know, the great ones might have multiple locations even, that it's a full-time job and they just don't realize what's brought to the table. And one thing that I think Christine and I can both tell you over the years is that if you put 5 photos in front of us, we can tell you which one the agent staged. It's very.
And if you've got, you know, maybe I'm thinking like, okay, if you've got time to stage somebody else's listing, then you could be taking that time and doing a listing presentation yourself. You're going to make more money as a real estate agent than you ever would be as a stager. So it's like, think it through, like, why are you doing it? And a lot of it, the answer is usually because I like doing that sort of thing.
And if you do, be a stager, because staging is very right brain, left brain. So for me, I would never, I had a staging business for 4 months and I had so much business, I couldn't do it all. And I couldn't find a business partner. And every time I'd close a deal, I was like, crap, now I got to go stage it. I did not like that. I don't like moving the furniture around. Don't ask me to hang artwork in your house. I'm going to put a hole in your wall. This is not things that excite me, but building the business, doing the marketing, landing the deals, negotiating everything. That is what would get me out of bed. every single day.
That's for me too. I built teams. I had 5 teams.
Team. Exactly.
People forget, that I had a very successful staging business before I became a trainer. But there's a question that, Shell, I'd love you to answer. Julie saying she thought she was accredited. Her training was accredited, but it was affiliate. What's the difference?
Yeah. So let me just wrap up, Cindy, real quick. Not trying to discourage you, Cindy, at all, but you may just be a stager in reality. So my best advice to you would be is really look at your why. Like Christine said, what is your why? Why do you sell real estate? Are you brand new to real estate and you're doing this and you're thinking they're going to go together? They might not. So I know probably 5 people in almost 20 years, 19 years now I've been in the industry that have done both successfully, but they did it with teams and they weren't doing it themselves. So that's just something to think about, because sometimes you just might end up being a stager and you're saying, you know what, great, I'm really a stager. I'm going to open my business, but I'm going to hang on to my real estate license so you can have access to the MLS, lots of data and referrals. So that's great to be able to do. So the difference between accredited and affiliate training providers is this: accredited providers have gone through our screening process. We've looked at everything from tip to toe and a big application process, and we've reviewed them and they've met our standards for education. An affiliate training provider has not gone through that particular program. They have paid a fee, they agree to follow a code of ethics, and they agree to have any disputes with their students resolved where RESA can get involved if there is one, have complaints filed against them. Right now, actually never, we don't have any complaints filed against any of the training providers, knock on wood. That doesn't ever happen. Everybody really gets along well, and they're very professional in resolving anything, and actually never really hear about any kind of dispute. So I think the best bet is to review everybody and choose the one that you feel is going to work best for you. But call them, interview them, talk to them on the phone about what it is that they offer, and discuss your goals with them. See what they have to say.
And I'm teaching a free webinar on Sunday. So if you would like to be invited into that, just send me an email and I'll make sure you get an invite.
So it's Christine at
stagingtraining.com.
Yep, there you go. Christine at stagingtraining.com. Yeah. That's it. Well, that's going to wrap up another episode for us. Christine, I always love doing this with you. You are such a joy, and thank you for being my friend, my mentor, somebody I can vent to, business person to work with in the industry. Appreciate all of it.
Anytime.
Everybody
and
else.
I like to brag, my RESA number is 1. I just want to tell you that. It's awesome. It's number 1.
I don't even think
all right.
I love you all. Happy staging.
Oh, 6 new messages. What's 6 new messages? Oh, good. Okay.
Oh, they're just amazing. We appreciate all of you for taking your time tonight. And that's it for us. Until next time, happy staging, everybody. And take the survey. Thank you.
Yeah, take the survey.